I've worked with Gene. He's so ready to go. He's so prepared with Morgan Freeman and Gene, both excellent actors. He loves to give his best, but he doesn't mind correction.
Clint Eastwood still has a sharp eye for talent. When asked about his favorite actors, he replied simply, "They don't act, they exist on screen." For Eastwood, it's not about fame or flash. He values raw truth, quiet intensity, and an undeniable presence that can't be faked. His choices reflect a deep respect for authenticity, favoring actors who disappear into their roles and bring a natural, powerful energy to the screen. James Cagney. He once said, "I always liked Cagney's style and energy. He was fearless." That word fearless fits Cagney perfectly. Every time he stepped in front of a camera, he gave the audience something alive and real. James Cagney had a kind of energy that made people pay attention. His movements were quick and sharp. He could lean forward, squint his eyes, and make you feel like he might explode at any moment. Other times, he could relax and bring out warmth and charm without losing that edge. He carried himself with a rhythm that matched his rapid-fire way of speaking. It felt natural, like he was not delivering lines, but speaking from his own thoughts. This energy worked in all kinds of scenes. In tense moments, it kept the audience on edge. In lighter scenes, it gave his performances spark and life. His style was never about looking polished or perfect. It was about being true to the role, even if that meant breaking away from the smooth image many leading men had at the time. Two films often come up when people talk about Cagney's best work. In White Heat from 1949, he played Cody Jarrett, a violent gang leader with a deep loyalty to his mother. Cagney made Cody dangerous yet fascinating to watch. He could shift from calm to rage in seconds. The final scene, where Cody shouts, "Made it, Ma, top of the world," as an explosion surrounds him, is still one of the most famous moments in film history. It showed how Cagney could be big and dramatic, yet still believable. In Yankee Doodle Dandy from 1942, Cagney took on a completely different role. He played George M. Cohan, a cheerful and patriotic showman. He danced, sang, and brought humor and joy to the screen. It was a huge change from his gangster roles, yet he handled it with the same confidence. The performance earned him an Academy Award and proved his talent went far beyond crime dramas. Clint Eastwood values honesty in acting. He likes performances that feel real and unforced. That is why he connected with Cagney's work. No matter the role, Cagney never looked like he was pretending. He became the character in a way that felt complete. You could watch him and believe you were seeing a real person, not an actor playing a part. Eastwood has built his own career on subtle yet strong performances. He understands how rare it is to mix control with intensity. Cagney had that skill and made it look effortless. Hollywood often tries to keep actors in one type of role once they find success. Many stars in Cagney's time stayed in the same lane for years. Cagney took a different path. After gaining fame in gangster films, he stepped into comedies, musicals, and dramas. He was open to trying new kinds of characters and never let himself be trapped in one image. This choice gave him a longer and richer career. It also showed other actors that they could push against the limits the industry set for them. His variety of roles kept audiences curious about what he would do next. Cagney showed that fearless energy could transform any role. But energy alone wasn't enough for Eastwood's next choice. Sometimes, the most powerful performances come from those who say the least. Gary Cooper. Clint Eastwood has always felt a strong link to Gary Cooper. In the early days of Eastwood's career, Hollywood secretaries started calling him Coop. They saw his tall frame, relaxed way of speaking, and calm presence, and it reminded them of the older star. The name stuck for a while because the two men shared more than looks. Both had a quiet strength that could fill a screen without loud voices or big movements. Gary Cooper became famous for playing characters who spoke little but said a lot with their actions. His style felt natural and honest. He never seemed to rush his lines. He gave the impression of a man who thought carefully before speaking or acting. Eastwood would later use the same approach. He learned that stillness and small gestures could say more than long speeches. Both actors carried themselves in a way that made people watch them. They had a tall, lean build and a way of holding a scene without trying too hard. Their faces often told the story more than the words in the script. They made silence a powerful tool. That shared style helped Eastwood earn a reputation similar to Cooper's. One film in particular left a deep mark on Eastwood, High Noon from 1952. Gary Cooper played Will Kane, a town marshal who stands alone to face a dangerous gang after his neighbors refuse to help. The role called for quiet strength and moral courage. Cooper gave the character both, without ever raising his voice or acting in a showy way. In High Noon, Cooper played Kane as a regular man who would not turn away from his duty. He looked steady even when the odds were against him. That made the character feel real and human. Eastwood saw how Cooper made the audience care through calm presence and conviction. This kind of hero would later become central in Eastwood's own films, especially his westerns and thrillers. Gary Cooper created an image of the American hero that lasted long after his time. His characters often stood for fairness, courage, and a strong sense of duty. They acted because it was right, not because it was easy. Cooper showed that a hero could be brave without being loud. Eastwood followed that example. While many of his own characters had a rougher edge, they still carried the same moral backbone. They were steady, decisive, and willing to stand alone if that was what it took. Cooper's example gave Eastwood a clear model of how to play characters who faced danger with quiet resolve. The link between Gary Cooper and Clint Eastwood is more than a nickname from the past. It is about the way both men saw strength in calmness. Cooper proved that a hero could make a lasting impression through stillness and focus. Eastwood kept that lesson with him as he built his career. Cooper proved that silence could speak volumes. Yet Eastwood also values actors who can handle complexity, especially when playing characters that aren't easily defined as heroes or villains. Gene Hackman. Clint Eastwood has worked with many talented actors through the years, yet Gene Hackman remains one of the most memorable. Their most famous project together was Unforgiven in 1992. Eastwood directed and starred in the film, while Hackman played Sheriff Little Bill Daggett. The role earned Hackman an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor and showed the depth of his talent. Unforgiven was a Western that stepped away from the old idea of clear good and evil. Sheriff Little Bill was a man of authority, yet his actions were often harsh and troubling. At times, he appeared friendly and in control, and at other times, he could be cruel and violent. This mix of traits made the character complex. Hackman brought him to life with a balance of charm, humor, and quiet menace. Eastwood admired the way Hackman handled the role. He believed Hackman could take any character and make it feel real. Little Bill was not a simple figure, and Hackman gave him many layers without overplaying any part of his personality. His performance added to the film's depth and helped it become one of the most respected westerns of modern times. Gene Hackman had a rare ability to make challenging characters believable. In his hands, even a deeply flawed person could feel human. He understood how to reveal both strength and weakness in a role. That skill made his work rich and engaging. Eastwood valued this because it matched his own view of storytelling. He liked characters with shades of gray, people who were shaped by both good and bad choices. Hackman could deliver that kind of truth with ease. He played authority figures, criminals, and everyday men, always finding the heart of the role. Hackman's career lasted for decades and covered almost every kind of film. One of his greatest successes came with The French Connection in 1971. He played Detective Jimmy Popeye Doyle, a driven but deeply flawed man. The role won Hackman his first Academy Award and showed his ability to carry a film with intensity and focus. Over the years, he proved he could do more than hard-edged drama. In Mississippi Burning, he gave a powerful and emotional performance. In The Royal Tenenbaums, he showed warmth and humor as a quirky family patriarch. This range kept audiences interested and made each new role feel fresh. Hackman was never afraid to take risks or try something different. For Clint Eastwood, Hackman represented the ideal kind of actor. He had the skill to play any role, the insight to understand the deeper meaning in a script, and the presence to make every moment count. Their work together on Unforgiven proved how well their approaches matched. Both men valued honesty, restraint, and characters who felt real. Hackman brought strength and depth to the screen in a way that few could match. To Eastwood, that made him more than a great co-star. It made him a creative partner who could take a strong story and make it unforgettable. Hackman brought depth to every role, no matter how dark or complex. This skill for finding truth in flawed characters would prove essential in Eastwood's next collaboration as well. Morgan Freeman. Clint Eastwood's partnership with Morgan Freeman has produced some of the most powerful moments in his films. They first worked together on Unforgiven in 1992, then reunited more than a decade later for $1 Million Baby in 2004. In both projects, Freeman brought depth, quiet strength, and a natural presence that matched Eastwood's own style. In Unforgiven, Freeman played Ned Logan, an old friend and partner to Eastwood's retired gunslinger, William Money. Ned was loyal and dependable, the kind of man who had seen enough of life to know when violence should be avoided. His world-weary manner gave the film a steady emotional core. Freeman made Ned feel like someone who had carried the weight of many years and many choices. Ned's relationship with Money was central to the story. It was built on mutual respect and trust, and Freeman showed that connection with small gestures and knowing glances. He did not need long speeches to make the bond clear. His quiet presence grounded the film and made the later events all the more powerful. More than 10 years later, Freeman returned to work with Eastwood in $1 Million Baby. This time he played Eddie "Scrap Iron" Dupree, a former boxer who now worked in a worn-down gym owned by Eastwood's character, Frankie Dunn. Scrap was more than just a supporting figure. He was the heart and voice of the story. Freeman's warm yet understated performance earned him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Scrap's friendship with both Frankie and the young boxer, Maggie Fitzgerald, carried much of the film's emotional weight. Through his narration, the audience learned the deeper feelings and histories of the characters. Freeman delivered every line with a natural rhythm that drew viewers in without forcing emotion. One reason Eastwood and Freeman worked so well together is that they share the same philosophy. Both believe in subtlety over overt dramatics. They understand that powerful acting does not always require shouting or big gestures. Instead, it can come from a still look, a pause, or a quiet exchange. In Unforgiven, Freeman's restraint made Ned feel like a real man shaped by hard experience. In $1 Million Baby, the same approach allowed Scrap to become a narrator whose wisdom came from a lifetime of learning. Eastwood's direction gave Freeman room to work in this style, and the results were unforgettable. Over time, Freeman has become more than a co-star for Eastwood. He is a trusted creative partner. Both men value authenticity, character-driven stories, and emotional truth. They know how to bring out the best in each other's work. In these two films, Freeman helped Eastwood tell stories about loyalty, courage, and the quiet strength that can guide people through life's hardest moments. Their partnership has left a mark on modern cinema, showing that trust and shared vision can create performances that last far beyond the screen. Freeman's partnership with Eastwood showed the power of trust between actors, but Eastwood has also found magic working with performers from completely different backgrounds and acting styles. Meryl Streep. Clint Eastwood has worked with some of the finest actors in the world, but his time with Meryl Streep on the bridges of Madison County in 1995 stands out as a rare and perfect match. The film told the story of Francesca Johnson, a lonely Italian-born housewife living in rural Iowa whose brief and intense romance with a traveling photographer changes the way she sees her life. Streep's performance brought warmth, truth, and emotional depth to the role, turning a simple love story into something timeless. Streep played Francesca with a quiet grace that suited the film's gentle pace. Her Francesca was a woman devoted to her family, yet carrying a deep sense of longing for something more. When Eastwood's character, Robert Kincaid, enters her life, she faces feelings she had long kept hidden. The power of Streep's performance came from how much she could communicate without words. A glance, a pause, or a small shift in expression revealed Francesca's inner conflict. She made the audience feel every pull between duty and desire. Her choices were never forced or exaggerated. Everything felt natural, as if the camera had stepped into her private world. Eastwood has often said he values subtlety over flash in acting. He believes in giving actors the space to find truth in their performances. Streep's approach was the perfect complement to this style. She shared Eastwood's belief that restraint can often speak louder than drama. On screen, their connection felt genuine. Neither actor overpowered the other. Instead, they built their characters' relationship through small, believable moments. The result was a romance that felt real and deeply moving. Streep's Francesca did not need grand speeches to make her emotions clear. Her quiet intensity matched Eastwood's understated presence, creating a balanced and intimate chemistry. Eastwood has spoken highly of Streep's professionalism and skill. He admired her ability to elevate any project she worked on. For him, Streep brought not only talent, but also a deep respect for the craft. She came to set prepared, thoughtful, and ready to explore the smallest details of her character. That dedication showed in every scene. Her performance in The Bridges of Madison County earned widespread acclaim, with many critics calling it one of her finest roles. It also helped cement the film as one of Eastwood's most beloved works as a director. Streep has built her career on versatility, but in this film, she reminded audiences of the power of quiet emotion. Francesca's story was not about dramatic confrontations or sweeping declarations. It was about subtle shifts in the heart, the kind that happen when a person is seen and understood for the first time in years. Streep made every moment feel lived in. She let the pauses and silences carry weight. She trusted the audience to notice the small details, a hand lingering on a doorknob, a tear held back, a smile that fades too soon. These choices gave the film a lingering, bittersweet beauty. The collaboration between Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep showed what can happen when two artists with the same respect for subtle storytelling work together. Their shared belief in restraint created a film that has endured for decades. For Eastwood, Streep was the consummate professional, an actor who could take a simple scene and turn it into something unforgettable. Together, they created a love story that continues to move audiences with its honesty, tenderness, and quiet strength. Streep and Eastwood created something special through their shared love of subtle storytelling. Yet Eastwood's admiration isn't limited to his direct collaborators. Some of his greatest influences came from actors he only watched from afar. John Wayne. For Clint Eastwood, John Wayne was more than a Hollywood legend. He was a figure who helped shape the path of his own career. While they never made a film together, Wayne's impact on Eastwood's development as a Western star is clear. Growing up, Eastwood watched Wayne's films and saw how a commanding presence, a sense of honor, and a strong moral code could define a leading man in the genre. John Wayne became the face of the American Western for decades. His tall, broad-shouldered frame, confident stride, and steady voice made him instantly recognizable. In the 1950s and 60s, he embodied the image of the principled cowboy who stood for justice, loyalty, and strength. His characters often faced danger head-on, guided by a clear sense of right and wrong. Eastwood admired Wayne's ability to carry a story with authority. Even without flashy action or complex speeches, Wayne could hold the audience's attention. He made the Western hero a symbol of courage and reliability, a figure audiences trusted to do the right thing no matter the cost. Two films in particular stand out when thinking about Wayne's influence: The Searchers from 1956 and True Grit from 1969. In The Searchers, Wayne played Ethan Edwards, a Civil War veteran who embarks on a long and difficult mission to find his kidnapped niece. The role showed a more layered side to Wayne's screen persona. Ethan was brave and determined, yet also deeply flawed. That complexity would later inspire Eastwood's interest in characters who carried both strengths and weaknesses. In True Grit, Wayne portrayed Rooster Cogburn, a tough, aging U.S. Marshal with a gruff manner and a hidden sense of decency. The performance earned him an Academy Award and became one of his most iconic roles. The mix of humor, grit, and reluctant heroism in Rooster left a lasting impression on Eastwood, who would bring similar traits to many of his own characters. While Eastwood respected Wayne's style, he eventually took the Western hero in a different direction. Wayne's characters were often clear-cut symbols of justice, while Eastwood gravitated toward morally ambiguous anti-heroes. His Man with No Name in the Sergio Leone films and his later Western roles were harder to pin down. These characters might do the right thing, but their methods were not always noble, and their motivations were often personal rather than purely moral. This contrast did not erase Wayne's influence, it built on it. Eastwood took the foundation Wayne created and adapted it to a changing audience that was ready for more complicated heroes. John Wayne left behind more than a long list of box office hits. He created a blueprint for the archetypal Western hero: brave, steady, and larger than life. For Eastwood, Wayne's career proved that a single actor could define a genre. Even as Eastwood redefined the Western in his own way, the lessons he learned from watching Wayne's work stayed with him. Wayne's influence can still be felt in Eastwood's films, from the way his characters carry themselves to the quiet authority they project. In many ways, Wayne provided the starting point, and Eastwood built the next chapter of the Western legend. Wayne laid the foundation that Eastwood would later build upon and transform. But influence flows both ways in Hollywood, and Eastwood has deep respect for contemporary actors who share his values even if they've never worked together. Denzel Washington, Clint Eastwood, and Denzel Washington have never shared the screen or worked together on a project, yet there is a strong sense of mutual respect between them. Both men have built long, celebrated careers by choosing roles and projects that reflect a deep understanding of human nature. Their admiration for each other comes from recognizing similar values in their craft, integrity, dedication, and a belief in telling stories that matter. Denzel Washington has proven himself as one of the most versatile actors of his generation. Across decades of work, he has shown an ability to fully disappear into a role, whether playing a real historical figure or a fictional character. In Malcolm X from 1992, directed by Spike Lee, Washington delivered a performance that was both commanding and deeply human. His portrayal captured the complexity of a man whose beliefs and personality evolved over time. It remains one of the defining performances of his career and a benchmark for biographical storytelling. In Training Day from 2001, Washington stepped into much darker territory as Detective Alonzo Harris, a corrupt and unpredictable narcotics officer. The role earned him an Academy Award for Best Actor. Alonzo was both magnetic and unsettling, a man who could charm and intimidate in the same breath. This ability to play morally complex characters resonates strongly with Eastwood's own approach to storytelling, where heroes and villains are rarely drawn in simple lines. Both Washington and Eastwood have spent significant parts of their careers not only acting, but also directing. This dual perspective shapes how they approach performances and projects. They understand the full picture of filmmaking, from the rhythm of a scene to the tone of an entire movie. As directors, both prefer a grounded, character-driven style over excessive spectacle. Their films often focus on themes of morality, responsibility, and the choices that define a person. Whether it is Washington directing Fences or Eastwood helming Unforgiven, the emphasis remains on honest storytelling and drawing strong performances from every actor involved. One of the clearest connections between the two lies in their shared interest in moral complexity. Neither is afraid to play or direct characters who live in the gray areas between right and wrong. Washington's Alonzo Harris and Eastwood's William Money from Unforgiven are very different men, yet both are deeply flawed figures whose actions challenge the audience's moral compass. Another link is authenticity. Washington brings a lived-in truth to every role, even in stories with heightened drama. He avoids artificial gestures, focusing instead on the smallest details that make a character believable. Eastwood shares this approach, favoring subtle moments over overly dramatic displays. In both men's work, what is left unsaid often carries as much weight as the spoken word. Denzel Washington stands as one of the few modern actors whose influence and longevity can be compared to Eastwood's. They belong to different eras, but share a devotion to craft and an understanding of the power of storytelling. While their paths have never crossed on set, the respect they hold for each other speaks volumes. In their own ways, both have redefined what it means to be a leading man, bringing depth, truth, and moral weight to every story they tell. Washington and Eastwood represent different generations united by the same principles. This respect for fellow craftsmen extends to actors Eastwood has actually directed, where mutual trust creates something extraordinary. Matt Damon. Clint Eastwood has worked with many talented actors over the years, but his time with Matt Damon on Invictus in 2009 left a strong impression. Damon played Francois Pienaar, the captain of the South African rugby team. The story followed how Pienaar and his team helped unite a divided nation during the 1995 Rugby World Cup. Under Eastwood's direction, Damon gave a performance that felt honest and powerful. It earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor and showed the depth of his talent. Eastwood has spoken about how much he values Damon's disciplined way of working. For Eastwood, discipline is about more than learning lines or showing up on time. It is about knowing the heart of the role and giving it full commitment from start to finish. Damon works that way on every project. He combines careful planning with natural instincts so his performances feel real. For Invictus, this meant spending months training to look and move like a real rugby player. He learned the rules of the game, the movements of the players, and the way teams communicate. By the time filming began, he did not just act like a captain. He moved and spoke like one. Francois Pienaar was more than a sports star. He was a leader during a moment of great change in South Africa. The Rugby World Cup came just after the end of apartheid, and it became a symbol of hope for unity. Damon understood the importance of this role. He played Pienaar with a steady strength and quiet dignity. His performance showed leadership without shouting or overacting. The character's power came from his calm presence and his ability to inspire others. Eastwood's directing style matched Damon's performance style. Eastwood prefers subtle, honest acting over flashy displays. He wanted the film to feel true to life, and Damon delivered exactly that. By keeping the emotions grounded, Damon helped tell a story about teamwork, forgiveness, and determination. Discipline has shaped Damon's career from the beginning. In Good Will Hunting, which he co-wrote and starred in, he showed deep emotional truth. In The Bourne Identity and its sequels, he combined physical skill with sharp focus. For Invictus, the demands were high both physically and emotionally. Damon had to carry the spirit of a real-life figure while also performing in challenging sports scenes. Eastwood's sets are known for being calm and efficient. He does not waste time with endless takes. This style worked well for Damon. His preparation allowed him to adapt easily to Eastwood's pace. Once the cameras rolled, he was ready to deliver exactly what was needed. The partnership between Eastwood and Damon was built on mutual trust. Eastwood trusted Damon to understand the role and play it truthfully. Damon trusted Eastwood's vision and direction. This trust created a smooth working process and allowed the film to keep its emotional impact without unnecessary complications. Damon has spoken warmly about the experience of working with Eastwood. He has said that Eastwood gives actors the freedom to explore their roles while keeping the atmosphere focused and professional. For Damon, this was the kind of set where he could do his best work. Matt Damon may have only worked with Eastwood on one major film, but his performance in Invictus left a lasting mark. Eastwood appreciates actors who bring honesty, preparation, and dedication to their work. Damon's disciplined approach and his commitment to portraying Francois Pienaar with truth and respect made him a standout collaborator. Through this role, Damon showed why he belongs on Eastwood's list of most admired actors. Clint Eastwood's career is a masterclass in spotting and working with talent that brings truth to the screen. These actors proved that real power lies in presence, not pretension. If you enjoyed this journey through his favorites, like, share, and subscribe for more stories from Hollywood's best.